Hello everybody, Sam here, engineer, MBA, and investor. And in today's video, I want to talk about yesterday's data that was published from Intellia Therapeutics, basically publishing further and latest data on Intellia-2001, their latest and leading program to tackle a specific disease that has no cure, and they're doing it with CRISPR, but in this case, they're doing it through the in vivo approach, which is basically a single dose that they inject in the liver and hope for the best, right? And that's exactly what we'll take a look at today. So again, this latest update happened yesterday on June 24th. It shot the stock up a little bit here and there, and obviously lots of people have been talking about Intellia becoming now officially the #1 CRISPR company in the space, right? And for good reasons. And if we take a look at here, so obviously they're still in phase 1 of this program. I do believe they're ending phase 1 now. I think they're entering into phase 2. But basically they had two parts of phase 1, right? Part 1 of phase 1 was basically, trying to select which dosage makes sense. And then part 2 sort of happened a couple of months ago where they selected on a specific dosage that we'll take a look at. And now we got data, official data from that specific dosage that was finally selected a few months ago, and the dosage that they'll be sticking with at this point on. So again, the dosage we take a look at here, the fixed dosage was 80 milligram fixed dosage no matter what for n equals to 8 subjects, no matter what. Previously they were going by kilogram of the subject. So you can see here the lowest dosage level 1 was 0.1 milligrams per kilogram, all the way to 1 milligram per kilogram, right? And you can see the end sample that was tied to each dosage. But again, the most important figure for us is this dosage here. No matter what's going to happen, this is the dosage that they have selected based on the data that they got from part 1 of phase 1. That's why it's important to segment these. You don't just go blindly and say, okay, let's just pick one dosage level and hope for the best. So a summary here of what happened. Generally, it was safe, well tolerated. They did have one specific, so here they're mentioning a single possible related grade 3 event serious adverse effect of vomiting reported at 1 milligram per kilogram dose in a patient with underlying gastroparesis. So basically, they had one patient that really had grade level 3. But they don't actually believe this was actually due to the drug that they're trying to study. This was maybe due to obviously what they're mentioning here. So that's something we want to keep in mind. But again, this is not a showstopper. I think this was pointed out by just a few people, but generally it was well tolerated, and the dose was put to be quote unquote safe for most, if not all, patients, right? So we take a look at the data that came in, guys. So the mean reduction of TTR protein. So again, just as a reminder, for this disease, ATTR, as you reduce your TTR proteins, and basically you can sort of assure that you're tackling and potentially curing this disease. And that's exactly what we're seeing here with the dosage that was selected at the end. The mean sample for the n equals to 6 data that they got right now for the dosage, 80 milligrams of dosage that they selected and going forward with. Basically, they were able to get at day 28 at 93 mean percentage, with the highest being at 98, right? The highest being at 98. And you can see here the comparison, the light gray here being the lowest dosage, all the way to the latest dosage being the dark blue gray, navy color at 93, right? So clearly here, still a couple more months to go here as you get more data, but clearly here, this one is looking like the best type of dosage for all patients that were studied, right? Right, so stimulation identified 80 milligrams as the fixed dose equivalent to 1, so they were able to do that type of comparison here. We won't go too much here on that slide. I think in slide number 9, I think it's a little bit of not really important at this point. But what is important is this guy here, this slide. So at 1 milligram per kilogram, mean reduction was 98, like we said, sustained through 6 months. So durability is there. So again, durability is always important, guys. You don't want to only look at the data for the first to 3 months. You want to see what happens after half of a year and onwards, right? A fixed dosage of 80 milligram is the fixed dose equivalent of 1.0 milligram kilogram has been selected for evaluation part 2. So that's still phase 1. That's not phase 2, right? And if we take a look at it here, key takeaways. So again, this is a single dose treatment for ATTR, the disease, again, injected through the liver through in vivo approach as opposed to ex vivo, right? Okay, so there, of course, Intellia is the forefront of genome editing. Absolutely true. I would consider them to be the top 2 company in the CRISPR landscape. I still would put CRISPR Therapeutics as number 1. I still believe CRISPR Therapeutics is king in this space. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of you guys did strongly disagree with that statement. But clearly here, Intellia has to be in the top 2 for most people, if it's not top 1, right? So I think the next steps here is very important. So as they finish enrollment phase 1 study, I think they'll be entering into phase 2 at some point. And I think what's important here is that now they're entering into regulatory agencies such as US FDA. It's not just the US FDA, there's the Health Canada, there's the Europe EMA as well. So that's why they're putting in S2 agencies to discuss a potential pivotal trial design. So obviously this is entering into phase 2 and phase 3. I absolutely think that the data we got from this from yesterday solidifies my thesis that Intellia is here to stay. I think they're here to do great things in this CRISPR landscape. The unfortunate thing is they're still in phase 1. I would honestly hope if they can sort of accelerate things. I don't know if it takes the Cures 2.0 Bill Act in US to accelerate things, but I think it's completely ridiculous that after a year, it's going to be over a year now, that we've initially got data from 2001 and we're still in phase 1, right? Like, what can we do to accelerate things here? What can we do? Can we leverage technology to sort of reduce delays, reduce costs, and sort of have a better outlook as to what the serious adverse effects are and whether or not those are correlated with the drug in study, right? Is waiting for data really the best way to tackle this social problem, right? Because don't forget, this disease is affecting not just those patients, but the community itself, the taxpayers, and ultimately you don't even have any alternatives available for these patients. So you're basically out of luck at that point. And so what can the US FDA do? What can Health Canada do? What can the EMEA and other agencies can do for Intellia and for other CRISPR companies, right? I don't want to just say Intellia should be the company that is favored only by agencies. I think my point here is that as they are successful in what they're trying to achieve with in vivo, I mean, as we get more human data with CRISPR as a whole, right? Forget about in vivo versus ex vivo and CRISPR-Cas9 versus other type of nuclease cuts. All I'm talking about is, what can the regulatory agencies do here as we enter in a awkward era where, you're getting amazing data, but the progress seems to be very slow. I mean, we haven't even heard anything about the US FDA, about CRISPR. I mean, we sort of had something with Bluebird and a 13-0 support, unanimous support from the FDA. But how come they haven't even, done anything, any sort of PR about CRISPR? That's the big question, right? That's what I have now as I get more data from a program like Intellia 2001, which is amazing data. And I think all of you will agree with that. I think it's amazing and noble what they're doing. But ultimately here we have a huge showstopper. We have a huge blocker. And it's like the elephant in the room. And I really hope that Hexacell, or known as CTX001 from CRISPR Therapeutics, really unlocks opportunities for these types of companies to sort of, showcase to the world in the year of 2023 and forward. I really hope that. We'll see what happens. Lots of things coming this year, guys. Lots of things coming by next year. It's an exciting time to be in this space. So hopefully you guys appreciate this video. Like this video if you found value. Subscribe if you're not. Hopefully you guys have a beautiful weekend and a beautiful Saturday. Thank you so much for watching.